Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports for yet another live stream. And here we are after an Indian victory and a series victory. Obviously, this game had a lot of twists and turns. It was more like the suspense thriller movies with a lot of plot twists in every session. I wouldn't even say every day because every session had its plot twist. Every session had its ups and downs. Maybe you can compare it with life, right? Sometimes it's maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. That's how it is. That's how this entire game was, and it was like a very good game of cricket. I'm Antariksh joining me. Antariksh, what a phenomenal game to start off with, because this is the epitome of good test match cricket.
Yep. Very, very happy, man, with the result. And of course, the series went like we should have, as we should have. So good, but really very happy with this performance, like as a whole. The way we showed character in that second innings of England, right? To bowl them out. Uh, like when we lost those wickets in the first innings, and even though Dhruv Jurel played a blinder, so especially coming on into the third day, I was like, before the
Yeah.
Dhruv Jurel thing, I was like, nah, this is gone now. We know the script now. We'd maybe get a deficit of 100 odd or maybe 70, 80, and then we'd not be able to chase 250, 270 or whatever. But kudos to Jurel, the innings he played in the first at the first time around, right? And then to Ashwin and Go, the way they showed because you know what, like with this baseball style that these guys have had, right? It only takes 10 overs, right? It only takes
Yeah.
10 overs or what, like a quarter of a session or maybe half a session to just sort of pile on those runs. You add those 40,
Yeah.
50 runs of lead, and then suddenly you have a fourth innings asking total of 250 to 80. That looks small on paper, but we really know time and time again it isn't, especially in India. So but to be bowling out England like that and then getting through the tail, I'm you know what, like I'm always scared of the tail because like tail ka ek run, I just it's like 4 runs, like it's that painful. And we didn't do well the first time around, but we did so well. And then to come back and bat, see, we had those iffy moments, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but great signs, great positive signs in bowling. Ashwin coming back into his groove, Akashdeep showing some promise, and then in
Mm-hmm.
batting especially, we saw Sarfaraz's heroics, Jaiswal's. Now it was Jurel's time, right? So very very happy with it. Shubman Gill
Yeah.
also chipping in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just look at the scorecard, shall we? Because we can know what exactly went down in that particular game. Because a lot has gone down in that particular game. Obviously, England batted first, scored 353, which looked 100 above par, in my opinion, at least. Because 1-1, 1-1-2 for 5, that's where we had them on the mat for. From there on to concede 200-run partnership, and then to take the game to 353 was quite a lot. India in response, it was just a clutter. India lost so many wickets. You take that Dhruv Jurel 90, and more than everything, that Kuldeep Yadav's 28 of 131 balls. That had its worth weight in gold. It's as good as scoring a good 50 on that particular, because they both fought the last hour of the day. They both fought the first hour of the next day, and that's where we exactly got back into the game. And I give credit to Dhruv Jurel, as you mentioned. Dhruv Jurel was outstanding, and the title of the video also says Dhruv Jurel is class, because he was about class for a person playing his second test match. He was batting like he belonged to that arena. It looked like he knew the temperament, he knew what to be done. Let's talk about this, right? 353. How did you react to that? Because Joe Root scoring 100, a much awaited 100, going out of the baseball kind of way of playing. And that's exactly where everybody was like talking, right? You have to come out of the baseball way of playing to score runs. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I don't know now what he has to say about it now. So, like, because not just him, you know what, Ben Folks as well. Like, he was especially going in slow. It was the Pujara ball. Forget the bass ball. It was the Pujara ball which was on show because he was what 28 of 108 deliveries. Like when the day ended, I think it was the first day or something. So yeah, I mean, they did go out, but credit to them, right? We don't care. Like cricket doesn't care how the runs come as long as they keep coming. So very, very well fought from 1-1-2 for 5, and then to be going on. See, I don't understand. Like we've been seeing Indian cricket for quite a while, right? Like, and in India and all of these test matches, we've rarely had some different sorts of pitches this time around, right? They're not, they're not rank turners. They're barely turners, right? Like Shoaib Bashir, Ashwin, all of these lads got wickets because they bowled good line and length. Like, it wasn't as if the ball was turning and stuff. Yes, it was the odd Indian wicket syndrome wherein one just oddly kept low, but it wasn't like it had, like, it couldn't be categorized as a pitch which had
Uh,
uneven bounce. It was like what, 10 deliveries out of 5 days play that I can say that really kept low, right? So I mean, I don't know what these pitches have been like. They are kind of, see, this is, these pitches have also been synonymous to what we've been speaking and what a lot of people have been speaking, that temperament has gone for a toss in today's test cricket, in cricket as usual, but in test cricket particularly, where people don't want to stick around there, don't trust their defense that much. And we saw herein, right? Be it Rohit Sharma's second innings, Dhruv Jurel's first and second, Shubman Gill's second, Ben Fokes, this guy, Joe Root, each and everyone who trusted their defense, did not go onto the easy route of back foot for spin, who actually countered spin by cutting it off. They played absolutely well. Because once you put out a big foot forward, the whole variable bounce thing goes out of the window, because even if it's keeping low, it's your pad which is 2 meters out of your crease and you can just block it down there. So I think this pitch was actually something that, maybe contrary to what you think, that maybe 350 was above par, I thought 350 was something that they should have gotten from the start. Yes, if you look at 112 for 5, then it was 100 above par, you're absolutely right. But if you would have seen the pitch and how it has reacted over the last 3 test matches, how we have prepared pitches, I think this was as good as something. So Yashasvi has shown us, Zach Crawley has shown us a number of times. So yeah, I mean, temperament overall in the whole game is sort of missing at the moment.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that temperament aspect of things, because once again, the guys who are ready to bite the time gets the reward in such pitches. And it's always been the case, right? Test cricket doesn't change a lot. It's a format which just always straight true to itself. Whatever you try to say, I want to score 90 overs, I want to score 500 runs. It's sometimes impossible to do it in such conditions. And sometimes you have to give respect to the game, because otherwise the game will get on you. And that's exactly what has happened with baseball in this tour. They try to maybe change the conventions. Sometimes it's good, obviously, to talk about getting involved with time, and it's a process which you've seen in cricket. Like with time, you see a lot of things. It's not like you see Gavaskar's 200 ball 36s and you see those kind of things anymore. What I'm trying to say is you can't really try to change the convention. You can't still go out there and say that we're going to score 90 overs, 500 runs, and we're going to chase down 600 on the last day. It's sometimes not possible, right? At the end of the day, it's beyond a particular reach. That was England's first innings, as we mentioned, but India's first innings. I mean, we have to talk about Dhruv Jurel in particular, because the story is incredible, right? What I have to especially mention is, now we blamed IPL for a long time, but sometimes we have to give credit to IPL and academies in IPL. The Rajasthan Royals Academy has fine-tuned two youngsters for India in this series. One is Yashasvi Jaiswal, one is Dhruv Jurel. Now, obviously, you talk about domestic cricket. Yes, they both have come up their ranks for domestic cricket, but the Rajasthan Royals Academy, not a lot of people talk about it. And coach Barucha, this lad has trained Yashasvi Jaiswal and Dhruv Jurel in particular sessions for longer period of time, for months, on how to bat out for longer sessions. For example, I was reading an article where Dhruv Jurel used to face 1,400 balls a day in tougher conditions in ranked turners, which Zubin Barucha used to overlook over in Rajasthan Academy. Yashasvi Jaiswal to place spin ability or power hitting improved with the Rajasthan Royals Academy. What do you reckon about this? Because we often talk about this in football, but these academy systems and personal training over a longer period of time has certainly helped some of these players at least.
Yeah, I mean, great point, right? Because two players in the same series in the same lineup coming out of one academy, that really isn't a fluke, right? So
Yeah.
and 1,400 deliveries a day, like that is insane. That is so. Yeah, I mean, credit where it's due. And what I think right now is just that we just needed this revival, right? We needed these guys to step up, because we've been talking here that that इनके पास तो experience ही नहीं है, right? And they've shown today, right, happily, that yes, they're willing to learn. And now, while we're talking about the show boating and all the silver lining, I was really upset with Rajat Pattidar, right? Like again, I was just like from the moment he walked in, right? We talked about it. I told Rao that he doesn't. I mean, it's obviously bad to just judge a player so early and stuff, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's just the body language. It's just the sluggishness, right? So that he just carried with himself. And you know what? Like, yes, he's a new batsman and stuff, but the same could be said about Jadeja, right? Like when he came in, like it's a very just keep it tone, keep it simple, like just too much of that. And that is something that as a youngster, if you're on the table, you don't want to bring that onto the table. You want to bring some enthusiasm. We saw,
yeah,
and today it was such a beautiful thing to see how Dhruv Jurel's footwork actually rubbed on Shubman Gill. Like we
yeah.
saw,
Good point.
Shubman Gill was getting beat left, right, and center. Hartley pitching it onto the middle and then spinning it away from him, and he was play and miss, play and miss, play. But then Dhruv Jurel came in. He stepped out a couple balls, not for the big slog like Rohit Sharma did, but just to counter that spin, just to count. And then Shubman Gill started doing it as well. So it was so beautiful to see how these two youngsters complemented each other and how one rubbed off another. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed from Patidar and sad
Hmm.
to see, but most probably, yeah, like you could bet your house on it that he's gonna go out and
Yeah,
Rahul would come in, obviously.
yeah. Whenever Rahul is fit, that's going to happen. But I just want to ask you one question, Patidar. You rightly mentioned about you know showing enthusiasm. Could he have batted a little different, like more positive? Maybe take a
Yeah,
risk. Anyways, he was not getting the runs. Why not just step out and hit a couple, let's see how it goes. Maybe that'll give him a lot of confidence, because I just felt like this lad was trying to get into the shell a lot more, trying to be extremely defensive, and it sometimes doesn't work that way. For example, you saw, I mean, we just spoke about temperament and trusting your defense, but at times getting into a shell is also not the right way. You saw Dhruv Jurel, he had a strong defense, but at the same time, a rotational strike is so important. Try to keep the
yeah,
score ticking. Ultimately, it's a game of runs, and it's a game of how many
yeah.
runs you score. You have to score the runs to show. It doesn't matter you face 500 balls, and if you end up scoring 10 runs, the 10 runs is all what you're going to hold on to.
But he did not
So,
even do that, right? Had he gone on and actually, played a vigil of what 250, 300 balls or for 50 runs or 40 runs, he still would have gotten his share of the credit, and I'm sure we would have
yeah,
been clapping for him, right? Because
yeah.
that's also a role that you sometimes need a person to play in a test match team. But it was like whatever the 30, 40 balls he was there, he wasn't just looking like he belonged there.
Yeah, you're right. He looked like a walking wicket. No disrespect,
Yeah.
but he just looked like a walking wicket, and that's not a good thing, especially for a number four batter for India. And if you're batting in Virat Kohli's position, you can't be a walking wicket, and that's where I feel bad for him. I still think there's a lot of talent in that lad. He might have to just clear his mind out a little bit. I hope the management helps, because you know you have seen some of the greatest players got off to baddest of starts, and from there on they build a career. And I really hope, this is just a wake up call for him to smell the coffee at times. This is what international cricket is. You have to find your ways to score runs, and that's the only way you can be successful. He has earned his cap. It's not like he has sat in and he sat at home and he's gotten a call from Team India. Would you
Yeah,
want to play for
sure.
India? He has earned his cap at the end of the day. That's how he's gotten. But let's talk about this innings you already mentioned about in brief. Second innings of England, right? That was so crucial. 46 runs lead they had. We knew if you're going to let them off the hook, and if they're going to score anything in excess of 200, then it's going to be an uphill task for us to even chase it down, because the pitch was deteriorating. I'd like to point out something very peculiar. One thing I saw from this Ranchi pitch was that, early morning with the temperature really dropping in that part of the world, the pitch was really holding on to it because of some bit of moisture on the wicket. But moment sun started beating down, the cracks started opening up. Then it was the hardest to bat, especially from the second session onwards. It was the hardest pitch to bat, and that's where I really felt, England, when they came to bat yesterday, was a very tough period for them. And that's why you have to give credit to India. I think if England would have come to bat in the first session yesterday, it would have been a lot more easier for them to build partnership. You never know, it could have been a lot more than this. But that second to third session was the hardest period to bat. The cracks were opening up, and India made the most of it. Ashwin opening the bowling, Jadeja opening the bowling, credit to Rohit Sharma's captaincy as well. He really used them to the best of effects.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're spot on there. And as we look out there, right at the top, Zach Crawley, 60. Wow. Like that 60 is so big in that 145 ka
Yeah.
score, right? I mean, he was ready to take that game off us. 10 overs, 50-ish ka score kar liya tha unhone. I don't know how. And I'm not going to go in the line of questioning it how, but mere ko nahi pata how Joe Root was out there. I mean, it literally pitched onto the leg stump, hit middle and leg off the leg stump, and then still ended up hitting the wicket without it going onto umpire's call. I don't know how that actually managed to happen, but so glad that it happened because that wicket was big. It was round the wicket, it was pitched on middle and leg, and it still ended up hitting the middle
No,
of the leg stump.
it pitched in the leg stump, the
Yeah,
barest of
yeah,
margin on the
exactly.
leg stump, and then
Yeah,
hitting the leg stump. I was a little confused. Maybe a technological glitch, or we do not know. As I mentioned, it's never 100% accuracy with that ball trajectory. I don't know. I was a little confused as well, like you.
yeah. It just it almost went against like it was a conventional off spinner and it absolutely kept straight according to Hawkeye or whatever ball tracking. So I mean, yeah, but very glad that it happened. See, you can't have any complaints, right? England got the most number of umpire calls that ever have been recorded. So which was four in an innings. The record was three against India only some years back. So I mean, they got their fair share of luck as well. So I don't think a couple wickets here and there do entirely matter, but it was a big moment nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, England just I think again lost the plot, right? Um, like after tea, see, these are the things, right? This is what I mean by temperament. Like how many balls able did we see the England players leaving, right? Like kitty ball chodi, right? Whatever many overs they played, I can't recall one leave actually. You know what? Like
I think you
except for
can particularly pick Johnny Bairstow as an example while talking here because he looked good, but no temperament.
exactly, I
That
was going to
shot
come
was
to
so
him.
not
Yeah,
needed there. Right after T, the first ball.
exactly. He's trying to drive through cover with no footwork, and you're just come off the tee. And I mean, with the pitch that you claim has been one of the worst pitches that you've ever seen, or one of the most suspicious pitches, then you've got to work on yourself. And Ollie Robinson, not in this innings, obviously, but in the last innings, right? He showed what temperament can do on a pitch like this. And he showed it off. And of course, Kuldeep bowled a ripper this time around to him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, just they just fell in bunches. Again, Ben Folks. Now he went from a temperament player to too much in his shell. There's this fine line, right? Even when he was batting with the tailenders, right? We saw how Dhruv Jurel did it, right? He was going for the odd big shot to keep the field open so that he could take those singles as well. He trusted the other partner. Akashdeep ended up playing what 30-ish balls, right? And he ended up, scoring a lot of runs with him. So yeah, he sort of went into his shell, but then we wrapped it up pretty quickly. And then, if we come on to the next innings, right? If you just scroll down, what I think was because we started with Ashwin and Jadeja, right? I think this is where Ben Stokes. I think enough fashion ban gaya, right? To keep praising Ben Stokes for his captaincy now. I just see these second grade commentators just because Sunil Gavaskar and Ravi Shastri have spoken, oh, great captaincy, or Michael Vaughan has come in great, everyone's like, oh, great captaincy. I think it was absolutely pathetic captaincy by Ben Stokes in the second innings to not be trusting Jimmy Anderson with the new ball. You play to your strengths. This is what you did in the first test. You learned from it. You don't drop Jimmy Anderson. You go with Jimmy Anderson and you go with Shoaib Bashir. You have neither gone with Jimmy Anderson nor with Shoaib Bashir.
Yeah, open to Joe Root very surprisingly. I didn't understand that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, he's done it once, okay, ho gaya, but you have Jimmy Anderson in the locker. You have Ollie Robinson, who is not going to be worth two pennies after the ball is 10 overs old, right?
Yeah,
Especially in India with a pace of 125 clicks.
yeah.
So I think it was those 40 runs. Had they gotten two wickets there, able, I think it would have been a completely different complexion that we would have walked into this morning.
Yeah, I bet because next day morning would have been even harder for us. The pressure would have been extremely high, right? That 84 run partnership is what has helped us really reach that target quite comfortably ultimately
Yeah.
because that really took a lot of pressure. I mean, credits to Rohit Sharma. We'll talk about Rohit Sharma as well. But Kuldeep Yadav, what a phenomenal bowling from him. After that 26 runs he scored, that him with the ball was the difference. I mean, he is a spinner who got the most turn in that wicket, right? This spinner will get turn in any surface, but on that wicket, to some of the balls he balled to Zach Crawley, to Ben Stokes. That was top tier. And you also mentioned Ollie Robinson's dismissal as well. And this is where you really want Kuldeep Yadav the ball to step up, and he really did step up. He really showed his class. I thought he missed out on a well-deserved fifer there.
Yeah. Yeah, Ashwin apologized about that as well in the press conference later that day. But I think, consistently, I could hear his grunts, like from the moment he's been included into squad, right? Like it's such a hard skill. I've been a how should I say this? I've been a very poor spinner myself. So, but like this art of keeping the pace of the ball slow, but then getting quicker revs on it. It is such a difficult art, especially if you're a Chinaman, right? Because the anatomy of the human body is such that that's why we get a very little number of Chinamans, right? You have to give the ball flight, but then as soon as you're releasing it, you have to sort of swivel your wrist so
Yeah,
hard to get those revs. You could
yeah,
hear those grunts from Kuldeep Yadav when he was bowling. So I
yeah,
think he was one bowler who was trying so hard. He was bowling the flipper, the cross seamer, the conventional flighter, or just the quicker one. He was just trying everything on that pitch to get those revs, to get that grip of the surface, and he did that. Phenomenal. You know
yeah.
what? And I'm so happy because of his knock as well. Because many a times, right? Because when we face these good sides, he has been dropped out of because of his batting. Because Ashwin and Jadeja give us that sort of that batting option as well. But now
No,
he
Akshar
stakes
as well.
claim.
Akshar also gave that extra bit of batting. That's what
Exactly.
it is.
So now he stakes claim maybe as the best spinner right now amongst all three, and then a decent batsman as well. So that is phenomenal.
I don't see any reason why when India goes to Australia, end of this year, that he should be a number one spinner. India can play three spinners, three pacers, one spinner, and one all rounder, and I don't see any reason why Kuldeep Yadav shouldn't be your primary spinner in that particular tour. And he is one bowler who you can trust on any surface overseas, right? He's a wrist spinner in Australia, especially. I mean, it's one place I think wrist spinners have always had success. And
Yeah.
yesterday you saw how a wrist spinner hitting the rough and turning, gave you a glimpse of the old Shane Warne, late Shane
Yeah.
Warne. I mean, it was just classic to watch that. And I really think Kuldeep Yadav has hit his prime at this point, and it's the best time to utilize him. And it's unfortunate shame that in his 7 years Test career, he's only played 10 Test matches. Out,
Yeah.
that's just just surprising to me as well. I mean,
I
he's
think
good.
it's been down to his batting a lot because we've been
Yeah,
wanting to go with five bowlers, but with that you need people who can bat as well, especially under
yeah,
that Kohli era, right, where we had this
yeah.
switch. So a lot has been down to his batting, but if he shows his class there, I mean, it could be worthwhile.
Yeah, I think that is where I personally think, you come to talk about second innings as well. I think we have that hope in that chase as well. Even if you lose one more wicket, Kuldeep Yadav can still handle himself with the bat, and that really helps while you're chasing. And as you mentioned, Shubman Gill scored a brilliant 50. Dhruv Jurel once again showing a lot of calmness and composure. There was an interesting comment from Sunil Gavaskar comparing him with the Mahendra Singh Dhoni with temperament. What do you make of that? Dhruv Jurel's calmness and just not showing it at least. That how calm he can take the chase on, how busy he is. You think that's an unfair comparison for a youngster?
No, I think it's an unfair comparison on Dhruv Jurel because Dhruv Jurel ने जितना composure in दो test matches में दिखाया, that's more than Dhoni's entire test career, man. I mean,
Good
yeah,
point.
man. At least in test matches, Dhoni had zero composure, man. He used to jitter, but in the weirdest way. He used to get out of slips every time around. Watching Dhoni, Abel, I was always wondering as a kid, why doesn't he smack it around? Because in those years when we were kids, right, I wanted him to play baseball because that was his natural game. Like we knew Dhoni. Why does he play those? Why does he want to be someone else? I could never understand, right? I was like, kya respect game? Arey marna, like the ball's just red. You smack these white balls, now just smack this red one. He used to go to Australia and England and all of these tours, get these mediocre scores and stuff. And then I was like, yeah. So, but no, jokes apart, Dhruv Jurel, Dhoni, they shouldn't be spoken in the same sentence as of now. Abhi, the only wicket keeper, maybe if you want to bring in is Rishabh Pant, uske
Yeah,
around,
I think,
because that's
yeah,
the person
that's
he'd
the
be
ideal one.
fighting now, right? That's the person he'd be fighting for a spot now. There'll be, Virat Kohli who'd be back. There'll be KL Rahul who'd be back. KL Rahul could keep as well, And then I don't know what's happening with Iyer and Ishan Kishan.
I think that chapter is almost closed. I think their central contract is getting cancelled for
Bada
whatever.
Badia. I mean, fair, Joby. But what I mean to say is that there's a lot of cloud on their career still
Yeah,
right now. If we talk about Sarfaraz and this guy Dhruv Jurel and stuff, and then there's Rishabh Pant to come as well. So a lot of competition for place is good. And you know what? Like Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan, we've been talking, right? Unko hataya. We bought in Sarfaraz, Dhruv Jurel, Yashasvi, and all. It suddenly seems a pack that we can rely on. You add Virat Kohli and KL Rahul to the mix. Maybe you take out Pattidar. You sometimes maybe take out Sarfaraz or someone. You have
yeah.
Rahul, you have Kohli, you have Rohit, you have Yashasvi, you have Dhruv. Seems so good, man.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good mixture of experience and youth. Like you would want,
Absolutely.
you don't want a complete bunch of young boys as well because they'd feel lost in between. You want guidance in their early careers because all these guys who you call superstars right now will all come up with rubbing shoulders with the Dravids and the Tendulkars,
Yeah.
and that's how they've had their,
Yeah.
climb up to this ladder. But yeah, I mean, talking about which next game in Dharamshala, do you see any changes in the team? Big game for when it comes to WTC at least. England have lost the series, but Dharamshala is a place where Kuldeep made his debut 7 years ago.
Yeah.
A good hunting ground for him once again. A ball where the ball will seam around quite a bit. You see Bumrah coming back. I see Bumrah being given a rest, and I also see Siraj being given a rest.
Yeah. See, I don't think both of them would be given a rest. I think Bumrah, yes, Bumrah is would like to stay out only. I think, and I think more than a rest, bro. I think it was the IPL effect. I'm so sorry to say. मेरे हिसाब से this was another IPL effect. इतने साल से भी तो like we were playing these 5 match series and then those and like 4 5 years ago all of these series used to go down to the fifth day. अब तो तीसरे
Yeah,
तीसरे दिन ही खत्म हो जाता है. So there are like 2 extra days of rest and still we want to give them rest and stuff. See, if you understand with Mark Wood, maybe, but you can make a point with Bumrah as well with his injury record recently. But
yeah,
I feel there has to be a tint of IPL influence in it as well, for sure. But keeping that in mind, WTC, the great thing about it is that no match is just let's get through it kind of a match. In all the games, in all the matches equal to same amount of points, right? So I think we would try to go strong. I think Akashdeep has obviously staked his claim, and if we do at all rest Siraj and as well as Bumrah, then it's a lifeline for Mukesh Kumar, right?
what do you reckon? Because I personally think it's time to give Siraj a rest. He looks a little burnt out from whatever I see
Yep.
because he's been bowling
Yep.
for so long, right? Since the World Cup, he's been bowling consistently. He played in South Africa as well. Um, I think he also played a one-day series here or there, if I'm not wrong, post that or T20 series.
He
So
did not take any sort of rest, right? He went straight and completely on. He after that World Cup thing, like
yeah,
he's the personification of what it actually means to play for India, right? Like I really admire that guy, right? His story,
there's a
his
lot of
beginning.
fight in him.
Yeah, he just seems right, and he seems this perfect mix of still a youngster but also experience, right? The way he
Yeah,
was talking to Akashdeep, he's a youngster himself. He's learning on the job himself, but it almost felt like he's that perfect balance right now of yahan dal wahan dal, and then also trying to learn himself as well, because he himself is a character who's a very playful character, who's a very sort of pumped up character for the opposition. But if he's in your camp, he's like a very jolly character. So
yeah.
yeah, I really admire the guy, man. You're
I
right. He
think
wants.
I think Siraj should be given a rest. In my opinion, he
Yeah.
deserves a rest. Maybe get someone in from the India A setup or somewhere. I really don't want Mukesh again because I don't
Yeah.
see
Same.
him really. Or you can go in with the Bengal bowling duo of Mukesh and Akashdeep. But ideally, I'd want maybe an Avesh Khan or someone. Just give him. We've been handing over debut apps caps for fun, so why not give another guy a debut and see how he goes about? And it's not a bad idea at the end of the day. Pick up someone who's been doing well in the Ranji Trophy, see how he goes, and maybe if he's got something about him, invest in him. So not a bad idea because
I mean,
ultimately
you know
you
what?
want.
Avesh Khan actually seems like a bowler who could be a good test bowler, right? Again, people who bowl with that intensity, who just don't float the ball up in the air, and like he's someone who hits the deck hard, who has that pump about him, who
Yeah.
seems, I've not seen him, but who seems to be able to bowl longer, sort of longer hours for longer hours for longer spells. So hopefully, maybe let's see. Mukesh Kumar doesn't like excite anyone.
Yeah, Mukesh Kumar doesn't excite me for sure, and I'm sure it doesn't excite you either. So ultimately, it comes down to individual choices. But as you mentioned, do you see England changing or fine tuning basketball from seeing what they've happened and what has happened in Ranchi? In Dharamshala, they might be like, you know what, maybe it's time to look into basketball a lot more differently because this is their first ever series loss. And obviously, to come to India and to win a series is not a small thing. And when you even thought that you would get a 150 run lead and go in, it's so hard to win a series in India. And this test match shows why winning in India has been a final frontier for a lot of teams and 17 series wins in a row. I mean, it is a real den. I mean, anywhere in India, it's impossible for teams. Okay, you might win an odd match here or there, but to win series, it requires
Yeah.
true determination, and it requires something really out of your skin. I think if a team wins a series in India, it's as good as winning a World Cup.
A World Cup. That'll be big. Maybe a T20 World Cup. Yeah. So,
I mean, for us, I thought Border Gavaskar Trophy winning in Australia was as big as winning a World Cup. So I think winning in India, if any team does it, it's as good as winning a World Cup.
fair enough. I mean, yeah, but see, that is the value. I remember the joy, the complete joy that was upon us, right? When we beat Australians, especially that time around when we were down on the punches and we barely had anyone from the first team, right? 7, 8 injuries, and then we still did it. So, and then we beat them the second time as well. So, but yeah, I mean, 17 series. I think it was England itself who were the last team to beat us
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
home
yeah.
series, right? That was like
A
Monty
dozen years
Python
ago,
and
12
Swan
years,
on
it's you
on
know.
steroids, man. They were ripping through us. That series was a rank Turner Wala series, right?
Yeah,
That was good. Graham Swan never got this much spin in his career, right? He would have been thinking in the commentary box what's happening now, but yeah. So 17 series, I think you know what, like you could count on like one hand maybe the number of teams that even would pose a challenge to us in India, right? I
yeah,
don't think South Africa won with their pace heavy attack. I don't think New Zealand are one with their pace heavy attack. I think it's Australia and now England. Maybe someone else out of the card, someone comes in, but yeah, I don't think like any other team really poses a challenge as if sorts, and Australia too because they're Australia. Otherwise,
yeah,
I don't know. So yeah, great stuff by India, and I think for England, I don't think it'll be a tweak to baseball C. Now, as you said, it's only their first series defeat. So that in itself is a statement that says that something has been going right. And see, we've been critical of baseball because obviously, right, we're Indians and we want to get on this on their skin and stuff. But many a times, baseball has led them onto good positions into the matches, right? See, the thing with baseball is an opposition team could be winning, could be sort of taking the game away from you. But with basketball, you only need half a session. If half a session of baseball connects, suddenly that 320 ka lead is what 140 now. And then you just suddenly feel, okay, what next? Because 1 hour earlier, you were like way ahead in the game, and now it's almost even Stevens. So that's the thing with baseball, and we've seen many a times, right? India scored 350, and suddenly there's 40 overs for England to play, and they scored 220. And then day three, we've only 130 runs of lead
yeah,
left. So
yeah,
it is good. One thing again, your Ben Stokes, Achi captaincy, this, that. One thing which is going under the radar is his contribution to the team. Now a bowling kar raha hai, neither has he batted with any sort of good effect. So
yeah,
captain, theek hai. First he has to cement himself as a good player for the team, right? So he has been he just gets out and throws his bat like, oh, it was the ball of the century every time that got bowled to him. So
mm,
yeah, he's been just outclassed every time, except maybe this one that kept low. But yeah, credits to us, man. I think Mark Wood would be back for England. Dharamshala,
yeah,
a bit of chill in the air and chill onto
yeah.
the pitch.
But trust me,
So
you mentioned about this whole series. I thought this was England's best opportunity to take the series to all to Dharamshala or to win in India. Considering everything, Bumrah being rested, no Virat Kohli, no
yeah,
KL Rahul, a very inexperienced middle order, a bowling
yeah,
attack also a little inexperienced here and there. I mean, if you can't win in this with this team and these conditions, then I don't think you'll ever win. As simple as that. To be very
yeah.
honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was the chance. This was that sort of moment that Australia had it with us, right? In the second Border Gavaskar, where some of their players were missing, they were out of sync. Some new players. there was actually an influx of new players for us, right? As you said,
Yeah,
we've been handing out debut caps for fun, and that's what we did. And each and every one of them have stepped up. So yeah, I just think, like, credits to their spin attack, this and that, but still, Jack Leach, they are missing Jack Leach. I think, right, because I think that Rehan Ahmad sort of thing didn't work out at all, right? And he seems to be someone who still needs a lot of sort of pumping and a lot of test match cricket in his belt to get that experience. So yeah, I think they have now gone off with their opportunity, but they could
yeah.
make it a handsome looking scoreline with 3-2 if they do come back in the next, because
Yeah.
3-2 is nice. I mean, of course, they've
3-2,
already
yeah,
lost the
sounds good.
series,
It's
but
has a good
3-2,
ring to it at least, and they can boast
exactly,
about it. Yeah, we had a moral victory and all that stuff in
exactly,
Ranchi. That's all they'll come
exactly.
up with. Thank you guys for watching this once again, and I urge you all to check out our course with Mad About Sports once again, reminding you all that we are running a cricket analytic course, and if you are into analytics, if you want to make a career out of analytics, working for your favorite IPL franchise or favorite sporting team, this is your opportunity. Check it out. The link is in the description. And do not forget to share and like to this video. And also subscribe to our channel if you're new here. We'll keep bringing you all this exciting content day by day because WIPL also has gotten into a very exciting start in what we can see. Two nail biting games, and Mumbai is again on top of the table with 2 wins, and RCB winning by the last ball of things, you can say. So exciting games in WPL, but we'll be back covering that, covering India's game. India's game starts in another 8 days, so that's a long time away. So, but still, yeah, after that, it's the biggest festival, right? The IPL starts. So, we'll be covering that even more in detail. So, we'll be talking about all these things over here. Have a good time, all of you. See you all soon. Bye bye.